Right, we'll get started. So hello everyone, thank you for coming to our Sabbatical Hustings for the SRC Spring Elections, for the 2025 elections. So as you may know, Sabbatical Hustings are a chance for you, the audience and the students, to hear more about the candidates sitting for the different positions, know more about their plans, ask about the manifestos and the different ideas they might have, and really for you as an audience to ask any questions you might have that spring to mind when they're talking or you have prepared beforehand. Just to make people aware as well, there are dates available for those that wish to bring their task with them, and also I believe the nearest prayer room is within the library in case you need to wish to do so. Just to do a quick run through the formats, and again, more than happy to anyone to ask any questions before the candidates go as well. All sabbatical candidates will be asked to deliver a 2-minute speech. Following speeches, I will be asking the candidates a series of questions that they've been sent beforehand, and we ask for candidates to keep their answers within 45 seconds. Harry will be with a little ring in there, taking time and bringing it within the 45 seconds. He really wants to do it now. After that, and once we've gone through the pre-sent questions, I'll open the floor up to the audience to ask any questions to either the general candidates or specific candidates, and I'll be chairing that discussion. And as well, we ask for the candidates to stick within the 45 seconds. Candidates will be notified by Harry, and the running order of tonight will be Vice President Education candidates, followed by Vice President Student Support candidates, followed by the President candidates. For the sake of fairness as well, and we can see it in practical terms when we start, I'll also rotate who begins replying to each question as we go, so everyone has a chance to be first as well as last. And just to note as well that we've received apologies from Amy, candidate for Vice President Education, and Mohammed, candidate for President. Amy has sent a video which will be played as part of her introduction, and unfortunately we did not receive one from Mohammed. So I'd just like to welcome to the stage Vice President of Education candidates, so Ayush and Kiraro, and apologies from Amy. We'll get started. Thank you for coming here tonight, Ayush and Kiraro. And you had received 5 questions in advance of tonight's hustings, so I'm happy for you all to decide as well who starts with the introductions, but go ahead with your 2 minutes.
Hello everyone, I am Ayush Garg, a Masters in Finance student and a postgraduate college convener at SRC. In the SRC, I've represented over 7,000 students across 5 different schools and worked closely with current Vice President of Education, Harry, and have tackled issues like assessment overload, study space shortages, and unclear feedback. Now I am running to be your next Vice President for Education because I believe every student deserves a fair, supportive, and empowering academic experience. One of the biggest challenges that I have heard talking to various students in all different schools was cluster deadlines and inconsistent assessments. I will push for fairer and better workload distribution across semesters more flexible assessment methods that reflect real-world applications. Another major issue that I found was lack of timely and useful feedback. Many students struggle to improve because feedback is delayed or unclear. I will ensure structured feedback timelines and push for better supervisor-student accountability. I've already been working on these issues, and as Vice President for Education, I'll make sure student voices aren't just heard, they lead to action. Thank you.
Thank you, and whatever you want to know.
Hello everyone, I'm Gerardo Guillo. I'm a fourth year microbiology student from Colombia, and I'm running to be your next VP of Education. As an international student, I know how tough it can be to adjust to university life, and I believe that education should be accessible, transparent, and truly supported, so all the students, no matter their background, can thrive. I've been class rep, school rep, president of the Latin Society, involved in different societies like the Infection and Immunity, Anglican Society, and I've always worked to improve everyone's experience. I try to make sure that everyone's happy and everyone gets in the best position so they can thrive, as I said before. But now I believe that I can take that one step further as a VP of Education. I have four main ideas. The first one is to strengthen collaborations across schools and campuses. That means connecting across different courses, different colleges, different campuses. Gilmore Hill, GUSRC, the ones in China, and that also means to offer better support in placements and better learning all around. I also want to help students quickly navigate career opportunities, ensuring that ethical and sustainable job options are available for them, not just the one that's more convenient or the one that pays the most. I also want to improve the access to learner resources. I believe that the university offers a lot of tools, but they're not centralized, and sometimes it's hard for students to know what they have access to. And finally, I want to ensure fair and transparent costs, no hidden fees on things like transport and lab codes. University should empower us, not add more stress. If you believe in a better, more student-focused education, vote harder for VP Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo. Now we'll get Amy's video up, if that's right. Just take 2 minutes. I forgot to say before as well, we'll take a break between Vice President, Student Support Candidates and President. President of Education is that of supporting the work of the class and PGR representative community. The SRC currently does this in a variety of ways, such as the Class PGR Rep Teams channel, class rep training, and the different social activities catered to class reps. What is one class rep related initiative that you would like to build on or implement if elected?
So I've been a class rep for 3 years already, and this is my first year being a school rep for infection and immunity. And something that I realized is that there's a problem with engagement, and there's rarely any interactions. I've been part of all of the programs and systems that we have right now with class reps and PGR reps. But I realized that most of them are really passive and they're expecting people to come. I think we have to get a more active engagement. My proposal is to have office hours open to any class rep to talk and interact with different class reps from different schools. That would foster collaboration, but it will also allow general students to come and complain and also give suggestions. And also, I think we have to focus into amplifying the relation between class, school, VP, staff, students, and SRC. I think everything's all over the place.
That's your time. Ayush? Yep.
Class reps and PGR reps are crucial to student representation, as they are the first point of contact for students and staff. I have already been working with them very closely as a postgraduate college convener. I've hosted few successful class reps mixers and creating a collaborative and safe spaces for class reps to talk about their experiences and their concerns. I found through these mixers, I found one very big issue was the use of Teams channel as a communication tool. It's often very underutilized and it's very ineffective for meaningful discussions. If elected, I was to introduce monthly feedback discussions within teams where class and PGR reps can raise issues, share updates, and track progress on student issues. More effectively, this will create a structured platform.
Thank you. I'll move on to the second question and I'll ask for an opposite start. So I'll give you the head start here. So the second question is, the university is about to enter a new strategic cycle that will take it well into the 2030s, with the hope of implementing meaningful changes through current methods of assessment and teaching. Building on the pillars of the current learning and teaching strategy, how do you think the university can work in partnership with students to achieve its aims?
For the university to truly improve assessment and teaching, students must be an active partner and not a passive options. The best way to do this is by introducing student feedback into decisions making at every stage. First, we need to introduce stronger student consultation in curriculum design, ensuring that courses are up to date and are practical focused on real world applications. Secondly, I would push for assessment reforms that must be guided by student experience. Right now, tighter deadlines and inflexible assessments create unnecessary stress for students. And lastly, teaching must be very accessible for students. Expanding hybrid learning and recorded lectures will help students, especially those with work commitments, engage with content in ways that suit their needs.
Thank you. Gerardo?
So currently the learning and teaching strategy goes from 2021 to 2025 and it has 3 big pillars and I think we should tackle the 3. The first one is the active learning. So far all around the different schools there's different ideas that I really like. For example, in infection immunity there are VR sessions to how to be in the lab and I think using technology should be the way forward. We can use that definitely. Also we have to have class discussions. That means people have to participate with each other, students have to talk to each other. The second pillar was transforming curriculum and assessment. There has been a huge improvement in the time of assessment, but still the quality of them is not the best. I think we should teach staff how to give better assessment and also teach students how to receive and how to actually work on it. Sometimes it's too general and therefore that's that.
Thank you. Sorry, that's time. I'll ask you to give the microphone because you'll go first in the next question. I'll go ahead. As Vice President of Education, you'll be heavily involved in the Student Voice Working Group. A lot of the work of the group this year has revolved around raising awareness of existing good practice and creating a framework for staff and students to develop the student voice in partnership. How will you work with the group to enhance the student voice of the university?
As class rep and school rep, I realized that getting feedback is really hard. The big problem again is engagement. I think we have to enhance the student voice, not by making it louder, but by making it clearer. That means using all of the tools that we have, something that we can use as informal settings before or after class, making sure that our class reps and school reps get feedback and then communicate it back. But also we have to close the loop, and any change that's happening, the student have to know. Because sometimes there's complaints about stuff that was already solved, but no one saw that got solved, so they were still angry. One way to do that is to have open forums. That means a more direct connection instead of the indirect working voice ideas.
Thank you. Ayush?
Right now, I feel like many students feel their feedback go unheard. If elected, I will ensure the student voice is not just collected but acted upon. First, I will push for clearer feedback to action tracker so that student can see what exactly issues that has been raised, what's being done, and what progress has been made. Secondly, I will work to increase department level engagement, where the reps from every school will have a direct role in shaping the decisions. Finally, I want to showcase real student-led impact for students to know that their voices lead to policy changes. By making the student voices process more structured, visible, and responsive, I can build a stronger trust between students and the university.
Thank you. I'll ask you to answer the next one then. So, over the last couple of years, a large focus of the VP education has been on time poverty. The idea that students struggle to balance their intense studies with other commitments such as part-time work or caring responsibilities. The university has made progress in this area, but what else would you like to see introduced by the university to tackle time poverty?
So, time poverty is a real issue. Many students juggle coursework, part-time jobs, and personal responsibilities, leading to stress and burnout. While the university has made progress, but more needs to be done. If elected, I will push for more flexible deadlines, allowing students with high workloads to request for reasonable extensions without extra barriers. I will advocate for better timetabling and ensure students don't get late evening lectures or major deadline clashes. Lastly, I want to expand funding and paid research opportunities so students don't have to choose between financial security and their education. Addressing time poverty means recognizing student realities and creating policies that support them, not overwhelm them.
Thank you. Harold?
Yeah, time poverty is the elephant in the room, and I think everyone has been affected by that. And the problem comes from the way the university is made. The university is heavily academic, and it has a big approach into individual study. No one has problems with the scheduled times or 9 to 5 classes. The problem comes when they get home and they don't understand how to study. So I think that's the first thing we have to change. We have to drift and understand that when you were going to study, you have to be in the right place, in the right mind, at the right time. You can't just study in between watching TikToks or something like that. So time poverty is a blurry idea of what is studying. What we can do is promote study sessions. We have Zooms, we can study in the JMS, but the main thing is to make people understand that the problem is time.
Thank you. Good ending there. I might just leave you with the last question to start there, Gerardo. So, one part of the Vice President Education role, which can be difficult to focus on, is engaging with PGR students to effectively advocate for their interests. As none of you have experience of being a PGR student, how will you look to effectively engage with PGRs?
Yeah. So PGR, for everyone that doesn't know, is postgraduate research. I want to become one of that eventually. During my honors, I was in CBR, studying with a lot of master's students, PhD, postdocs, and I realized that especially PhD and masters, they don't actually consider themselves to be students sometimes. So I think the main thing that we have to do is talk to them and tell them that we're here to support them, that they're heard and that they're important for us. One way to do that is to have more specific connection between them.
Thank you. Ayush?
So, postgraduate research students face unique challenges, from supervision issues to research funding gaps, yet they often feel disconnected from the university. Even though I'm not a PGR student, I will ensure they are directly engaged and represented. If elected, I will create dedicated PGR consultation forum so research students can raise concerns directly with SRC and university leadership. I will work to strengthen supervisor-student accountability, ensuring clear expectations and structured check-ins. Finally, I'll push for better mental health support specific to PGRs, ensuring workload concerns and stress factors are properly addressed for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for standing strong after all those questions. I'll open it now to the audience in case you have any questions. If you can just please raise your hand and we can get a microphone your way.
So, could I speak about Student.
Hi everyone, Hamza here. So just a quick question to I suppose both of you guys here. So a lot of international students obviously come here. How would your approach differ between a home student and an international student when it comes to education? Do you think maybe sort of language integration and stuff like that would be an important point you guys would like to introduce? How would that differ? Thank you.
So education is like, it should be equal to both of the students. It's not like the language is an issue. It's an English-speaking country. Every international student knows that it's an English-speaking education. But I know like there are certain group of students where non-native English speakers come to this country, have some issues with the lecturers and all of the curriculum. So I would advocate for better support for those particular groups of students with language. Thank you.
I think the most important thing that we have to remember is that we're all humans and there's different challenges and backgrounds. The problems that home students face are completely different from those that international students face, but at the end of the day, everyone faces the same challenge, which is belonging, and these feel that they're not enough. And that's what I want to push the most, to make everyone understand that you're here because the actions you took that led you here were the right choice, and you have a nice future and you can go with it. So there wouldn't be that difference. Of course, there's difference with language, also culture, thank you, but also missing home. Missing home is one of the worst things. That's why I became president of the Latin Society and I created it, because I missed home, and that's how I ended up meeting my flatmate, my best friends, and that's how they met their partners. The only way to fix that is community.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Yes, in the back.
So I just wanted to ask that you highlighted a lot about like class reps, but we all know that colleges have very outdated list of class reps. So how would you actually increase the communication with class reps as an EP Ed? And also how would you get those updated lists, and how you would encourage people to apply to be class reps?
If you want to decide to take it.
I'll take it. Yeah. So as school rep for infection immunity, I had 15 reps under me, and it was hard to talk to them, and it was weird because I told them many times, I'm here for you, I'm here for you, and I actually went to their classes and was like, I'm your school rep, please talk to me, these are your class reps, please talk to them. I think that's the only way we can do things, going into the ground, and I think one of the situations that the SRC is facing right now is that people think of it as something ethereal that's just happening around, instead of actual people. So I think the main thing is to connect with them, and also all of the class reps and school reps telling them that their job is important and that their connection they have with them, what with their students they're representing, it's really fundamental for this environment.
Like you said, like being on ground, like even I am approaching to class reps in all the class conferences and through my mixers. But yes, the problem with the list is not through us; it's from the SRC's website, which they are working on. And even I spoke about Teams channel, which is being underutilized. Teams has been very efficient way of adding all the class reps to, even if they are not notified. So I'll ensure that they are notified, they use Teams, and it become a platform, not just another social platform, but for them to interact with other class reps. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there were some other questions in the back.
I just wanted to ask, like, I'm an engineering student, our deadlines are incredibly strict because I have a medical history and all that sort of stuff. How would you suggest going about talking about these strict deadlines with colleges that are notoriously known for incredibly strict deadlines because there's such a massive student body in those classes? Like, how would you go about talking to people about that?
Like I said, like I have been college convener for social sciences, which for us has like luckily we have not been facing like very stricter deadlines, but for law and for engineering that you said, like the deadlines are very stricter. So my issue that I'm going to solve is like you don't have 3 to 4 assignment that's to be submitted on the particular deadline, but at least one assignment that to be submitted that every student can manage at least. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want me to answer it too? Sure. I'm in life science, I'm in the MBLS. My flatmate and most of my friends are in engineering, and engineering is a really heavy course, and the deadlines are stressed, and I always see them being stressed around. And what you were saying about the good cause, it's something really hard. It's a really big problem, and it all comes from communication. Sometimes the problem when there's a lot of deadlines in the same week is that teachers don't talk to each other, or you're taking 2 different courses or 2 different modules and they clash with each other. Again, I think the main thing about my campaign is everyone has to collab, everyone has to talk, and the only way to fix stuff is to actually say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm doing, this is what I need from you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
The last few years, there's been a massive decline in percentage of attendance at lectures, labs, everything. Do you guys have any plans in the works of how you would like to combat that?
You just literally talk about the elephant in the room. There's no answer to it. I've talked to students, staff, management, SRC, my friends, my mom. No one knows what's happening. And it's not just a problem with attendance, it's in general a problem with engagement. People are not going to events anymore. People are barely coming to whatever the SRC does. I don't know what's the solution. Again, I think the only way to do solution is by empathizing and being one-on-one. Something that I do for Latinos is going to them and looking at, we have this on Friday, please come. And that's the only way they'll come, because if they see the post and they like it, they will come. Same with class. What I've done with my class is tell them like, oh guys, I have something to tell you, please come to class. And then they come to class and they're like, what are you going to tell me? Nothing.
Thank you. Ayush?
Yeah, so even if you are talking about attendance, like even you see like right now in the room has like empty chairs. So it was open for all of the universities, since still people don't come. So it's still same for the class, like the lecturers, it's about their interest. Like there's no particular answer for us to, but we can like have. But I can advocate to the university as a VP would be like have more engagement based lectures, like rather than just boring presentations that's shown to the class that people are going 9 a.m.s and feeling drowsy in the classes.
Yeah, the only thing maybe see you at the back, which was like not really too much fun.
I appreciate the conversations regarding, but my question has to do with accessibility accessibility across all schools, and how we would work to better, work with schools, because each school has like a case-by-case basis on how they do accessibility, and some of them are more positive, some are more engaging, and some of them are just disastrous. So how would you work to like unify that basically, or like, just make it better?
I mean, the answer was in the question a little bit. There has been really successful cases, and in the council meetings that we've had, we've talked about problems, and I know that they've been solved. So accessibility has definitely been solved in some cases. It's not the same in all of them. Again, we need to communicate. We have to get the best. We can't create anything from scratch. We just have to build upon stuff. So I think the only way we can get proper accessibility is to sharing what it's doing in each school, in each course, and then seeing which. It goes course by course. It wouldn't be the same accessibility for a lab in person that, let's say, an essay. So yeah, just searching for the best.
So even as like when I'm represent like as a college convener, sometimes I forget the line where my job, like my role has been there. So when I talk to the current vice president, he says me like the education is not just academics, it's like overall everything. So even accessibility is one of the factors where I would like definitely work on with for every schools, for every colleges that have accessible for which is accessible for all students. But major I would support which vice president for student support who really works for this and help whoever it is. Thank you.
I might ask a question now to give us some more time to charge, and then ask Carrie to come up to ask another to charge the microphone. But I had a question, because I think I heard at the beginning in one of the introductions, both the Vice President of Education and President have put a lot of effort this year into building relationships, as well as last year, and institutional knowledge of the issues of transnational education. These students are studying University of Glasgow programs and campuses in China and Singapore through different partnerships. How will you continue this work to improve the conditions of roughly 4,000 students currently studying for a Glasgow degree overseas?
Well, I knew that that was one of Ari's big things last year in the last manifesto, and he's worked really hard on it. But then I faced something similar. I had to do my honors project in GUSRC, which is the other campus where the sports and veterinary sciences are, while everyone else in my class, bacteria and parasites, were here in campus. And I realized that we felt lonely, we felt discommunicated, we felt we didn't hear anyone, because it was 3 out of 5 days that we didn't talk to them. And I think that right now what we need the most is proper communication. I personally don't know anyone from other campuses, and that's really annoying because I try to be really sociable, and through the societies I try to be sociable. So yeah, I think the only way we can deal with the different campuses is to talk to them and remind them that we should work together and that the SRC is for everyone.
Thank you. Anush?
Like you said, like all collaboration for all campuses should be the priority. Like some of the schools have lectures in most of the campuses, but not necessarily like every student has been contact. Like so the schools when the curriculum is designed, it should be in a way that schools from every class and every lecture should be more inclusive for everyone to attend that.
Thank you. Here, do you want to comment? And I'll take it up. Don't worry, I know that there were 2 more hands, I think. We'll get to those after this one.
So, the quick development of generative AI or Gen AI has created challenges and opportunities for universities, and by now the University of Glasgow is no stranger to Gen AI, having developed staff and student guidance on which allows for use under certain conditions and sets out guidelines and best practice. What next steps should the university prioritize regarding AI?
So AI is a big factor. They have introduced Turnitin to submit the assignments and get the result for your assignments. But the university's main objective is should not ignore the use of AI for students, but to introduce the students how to use them correctly. And that's where we can take it forward for all the students, for the universities, for the professors to use the AI for the betterment of the lectures, of the curriculum, of the academic sides for all the students. Thank you.
AI is a tool that suddenly became important for all of the students, and I've used it before because it's a really good. But most people don't actually understand what's happening behind, and AI right now has a lot of environmental problems because it consumes a lot of water for cooling. So I think one of the first steps that university has to do is to tell everyone what's actually the truth. Don't make it good or bad, just telling the truth. That's currently happening in infection immunity. We have a class just about AI and plagiarism, and it's obligatory for everyone to go. But AI can be a really good tool to use. For example, I use it to just check stuff really fast, because sometimes Google doesn't give the best results, but AI does check better, self-checking.
Thank you. Of course, as well nerve-wracking it can be to get so many questions thrown at you, but I think there were 2 more from the audience. I don't know if the microphone might have enough bandwidth. There's one over there. Maybe I imagined another one.
Professors don't enjoy the teaching side of their job. That's probably why the engagement isn't very good. How do you plan to tackle that issue?
As I mentioned earlier, like the attendance thing is because the lectures are not up to date. The course curriculum is not according to student what they need. So if I'm going to a class and I'm not experiencing what I want from the class, I won't attend a second class. So that's why I'm advocating for to get the curriculum to be changed from the voice of student and the student experience in the class, outside the class, through the lecturers and through the lectures.
In my manifesto, and if I speak with you, I title like that I said, I want to be a university professor. Like that's my dream job. And I realize it's not something for everyone, and I've talked to a lot of people and they decide to leave academia because it doesn't pay as much or because it's so hard and they like to go to private. But I think that everyone that teaches has this sparkle and they truly believe in the future. Most of the lecturers that don't teach that well is because they lost it. And one of the reasons they lost it is poor attendance or they don't feel supported. But I think that what I would do as VP is remind everyone that what they're doing is important, that the future generation is really important. And by talking and making sure that the staff feel supported and talk with each other, that can happen. In infection immunity, there's a lot of collaboration and friendship. And actually, they had a project, the project of VR was collaborative.
Thank you. I'll take just the one last question and then we'll move on to Amy.
So this is a question, I suppose, directed to Hernando, right? Gerardo. So you mentioned about integrating technology into learning. That's a big part of why I'm sort of studying as well. So what sort of ideas do you have surrounding AI? What about the computer science field, the engineering field? How do you bring in these leading technologies so that the university level can become, a leader individual in this field?
Yeah. So right now the university has a lot of tools that people doesn't actually know about it. And there's a lot of different programs. In my program, as I said, we had a VR session where people go to lab. And it was so good that then the next year we had another VR session and we were white blood cells defending from an infection. And everyone enjoyed that, and everyone learned that. And for me, I was an international student that did foundation years. So my first year, I didn't know labs. When I did the VR session, I actually learned how to do the pipette. I learned all of the security things. So when I got to my first actual lab, I felt comfortable with that. I think that's the technology that we should push in. The main thing is active. Make sure that students are actually engaging with everything. And that's the technology we're looking for. AI that connects students, technologies, robotics, programs, make everything better.
Thank you. Well, put now Amy's video. Thanks for all those questions. You can stay there with Amy's video and we can all head back and start with VPSS. Hopefully I get it right this time.
my name is Amy Sora and I'm running for the position of Vice President of Education at the SRC. The past 5 years I've spent at the University of Glasgow have been the most enjoyable of my life. I want to make sure every other student has the same opportunities that I have and improve on these opportunities further. The main reason I want to run for the position of Vice President of Education is to continue working on the educational changes I have made as undergraduate convener for Arts and Humanities. In this position I've gained a real passion for educational change and really want to strive to expand this change that I've made further throughout the entire university. Working closely alongside Harry, I've been able to reform the School of Modern Languages and Culture's mandatory year abroad process, making sure every student gets the funding that they deserve and are entitled to from the university, as well as making the year abroad more accessible and make sure there's more resources available for them, especially with the new changes to the visa processes in Europe because of Brexit. However, beyond this, I want to expand the study abroad opportunities available at the University of Glasgow more broadly, not just for those who study languages. This is because I believe that studying abroad is such an enriching and important experience that every student should have the opportunity to enjoy if they want to. This is especially to the costs that normally surround studying abroad. Costs that make it quite an exclusive and elitist experience, which I don't think is fair. And I think every student should have equal opportunities to go on a year abroad if they want to, because it's such an enriching and fulfilling experience. Beyond my focus on wanting to improve the study abroad experience, I also want to improve the assessment and feedback process at the University of Glasgow. This is because I believe there should be more formative assessments, especially in first year and junior honours, as well as change the good cause process. Although I do think the University of Glasgow does have a relatively good cause process, I do think there should be an extra window after exam results have been released. This is because it is not always clear how much a certain circumstance or illness has affected a student's ability until the results have been released. By allowing students to have this extra window in which to apply, especially if their grades are an outlier to their normal results, make sure the results that students are receiving are actual representations of their true abilities. I hope to get your vote on the 5th and 6th of March so I can make these changes possible and keep improving the student experience. #aiming for change.
So again, thank you so much for coming tonight and for answering all the questions. And best of luck. I'll be calling now for the Vice President Student Support candidates. So that's Tasmia, Frank, Asian, I think I did see Rahul a second ago. I don't know if
Yeah, you just said it out.
Right. Do you know if he's coming back?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'll just explain again through the questions and then we'll wait a few minutes for Rahul to come back. So again, all of you will be given an opportunity to give your speeches for 2 minutes. Following the speeches, we'll be asking you a series of questions that have been sent to you in advance, which will have 45 seconds to answer. And then we'll open it up again up to the floor to ask any other questions, and as well with 45 seconds to answer. Harry will be keeping track of time with the bell as well, just last time, and ringing whenever it goes off. That's your time of moment. Since we don't have any more videos for this round, hopefully it'll be fine tech issue-wise. I'll just give it 2 more minutes and see if we get it back, and otherwise we'll get started. Quite sensitive as well, so just be careful to not either put it too far or too close. But I'll let you choose your starting order and go on your 2-minute speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Tasmin. I'm running to be your next Vice President of Student Support.
Full start. You can start over again, no worries.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Tasmin. I'm running to be your next Vice President of Student Support. For the past 3 years, I've listened to the struggles and lived experiences of disabled students through working for a company that raises awareness about assistive technology. Here I sought to create long-term positive change. I've worked at a therapy clinic, gaining an in-depth knowledge of rising mental health concerns and raising awareness about underrepresented groups and their unique pressures. I've also been part of the committee at the Muslim Student Association, one of the largest minority student societies on campus, making change directly, and I'm asking for your vote to help me take that further. University isn't always the easiest place to navigate, whether it's feeling anxious about grades, navigating uni as a first-generation student, which is my experience, struggling to find accommodation or receive accessibility support. Too many students feel unsupported, and that's exactly what I want to change. I want to mobilise the student body to use their voice so I can lead policy change and new initiatives with evidence, making sure that our voice is irrefutable. If elected, I will fight for faster access to counselling, introducing cultural competency training. I want better accessibility for students on campus through fighting for recognition and awareness of hidden and visible disabilities. I will work with student societies to amplify their voice and really understand their lived experiences, and also work with the VP of Education to push for better academic support. I don't want students to just feel like they are getting by. Instead, I want to make sure every student is able to reach their full potential. I really, really want to make a difference, and I want to do that with you. So, thank you.
Thank you. Aisha, whenever you want.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha. I'm from England and I'm a third year biomedical engineering student. When I came to uni, I was incredibly excited and ready for a new part of my life, and unfortunately it didn't go to plan. And when I came to uni, I asked for help from mental health services and was turned away because my condition was perceived as too severe for the university to handle. This left me lost and confused, and now I have to pay quite a lot of money for private mental health services, which I can afford to do because I have 2 jobs, so I understand how hard it is to fight for accessibility in the city on campus. I am the current president of the Feminist Society, secretary of Glasgow Students for Choice, and the Choice student organisation, and I'm also part of the Fem Collab, which is an initiative to bring feminist-led societies together. I have spoken at a GP vigil about my own personal experience. I've helped at the Fight for the Night March. I'm on campus and I'm here, and I'm ready to help and listen to other people. I would also like to enact and continue the support of the Emily Test Charter, which is to help survivors of gender-based violence. This is something that is a massive issue in the city. I myself am one of thousands of people that go through it every single year, and I don't think we're supported enough, I don't think we're heard enough, and I don't think we're respected enough within the community, so I really hope to improve that. I also, I am also interested in the divestment of arms. I think it's incredibly important that the university is transparent where our money is going and how the students' fees are being used. So I would really like to enact a student activist plan and a reform of policy 37 of the expected behaviour policy, because I believe that students should be able to fight for their rights and not be condemned for exercising those rights. Thank you.
Quick reminder to try and not put it too close to the mouth as well. It's a bit hard to get it right, but after a few questions, I'm sure we'll have no issues. Frank, you want to go? Okay.
Hey. This is Frank, and
I'm a fourth year politics and sociology student who's running to be your next SRC Vice President of Student Sport. The reason why I'm running to be your next Student Sport Vice President is I think students deserve better in life now in U of G. Since COVID-19, we are facing a lot of living crisis, and the university does not help us enough. I feel helpless and confusion while the university keep investing in weapons and students are facing insufficient support. So as a queer neurodivergent family student of color, I want to ensure every student at University of Glasgow receives the support they need. To make sure I can do it, I have been actively engaged in student affairs through various society participation, class representation, and volunteering. I'm also a dedicated human rights campaigner, and so I think I will use the same passion and experience to make sure I can real change for our community. If elected, I will cap the accommodation cost, review the university's approach to address gender-based violence. I will also improve the transparency of the university. I think the SRC will need also to be more transparent. And I'm looking to provide you more affordable hot meals on campus. And finally, I think the university should raise more support to non-local students. For example, end the loneliness for students who do not know how to socialize on campus. So if you support me, vote for Frank on this Wednesday.
before you go, we might try and switch microphones now that that one's got a bit more charge. Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Rahul.
Sorry, wait, I might stop you there. No,
Okay.
Musical microphones.
It's to keep you on your toes.
So, hello everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Rahul, and I'm running for your Vice President Student Support. My journey at the university began 6 months ago as an international student. Right from day one, I faced challenges like struggling with the cultural barriers and finding it hard to connect with students from different backgrounds. I believe every student should feel truly supported. Like many of you, I've experienced the stress of adapting to a new environment while balancing academic pressures. I've seen how isolation and limited cross-cultural engagement can hinder our ability to learn from one another. That's why I will work closely with the counseling services and student groups to secure better mental health resources, reduce waiting times, and launch proactive peer support initiatives, because I know firsthand how important it is to someone to understand your struggles. My own early days here has taught me that our campus should celebrate every culture. I noticed many events lacked diverse participation, which limited our collective learning and connection. I want to promote multi-diversity celebrations that honor all traditions, ensuring every student, whether international or local, feels valued at the university. Sustainability is another area where I would like to focus. I have felt financial pressure that comes with adjusting to life in a new city. I will champion eco-friendly initiatives that reduce waste and lowers energy costs, saving money that can be reinvested into our services. This isn't just about protecting the environment, it's about making our campus more affordable and creating a future where every student benefits. My leadership experience has prepared me well for this role. As an undergraduate, I led community initiatives with NSS, that is National Service Scheme, and worked in our event management chair, learning the importance of honest communication and teamwork. During my postgraduate studies, I collaborated with senior professionals and became an active member of the Reach Out team, listening to your concerns and understanding what needs to change. My personal journey fuels my commitment to...
That's your time, sorry.
It's okay.
So the four of you were sent 5 questions in advance of today's hustings, so we'll go through them now. And again, just as we did before the Vice President Applications, I'll ask you to rotate who's answering first, just for the sake of fairness. So if any of you want to have a go at the first one, I'm happy for you to decide. But the first question is, part of your role as being a line manager to the Welfare and Equal Opportunities Representatives on Council. What is your vision for managing and working with senior reps who are volunteers, being mindful of the competing priorities they'll have alongside their time on council? If you want to go ahead.
So my vision is to support our volunteer reps by creating flexible communication and channel and clear expectations. I will hold regular check-ins that respect their busy schedules, provide guidance and resources, and ensure they feel valued. By empowering them, we can all work together effectively despite of our competing priorities.
Thank you.
So I expect our welfare and equal opportunity officers to be amazing, and I understand all their concerns are important. So I will focus on listening and teamwork to balance each officer's needs. Before the start of each team, we will have a meeting to pick the main goal for each month. Like in September, we need to help students to settle in, and in December, we need to help students with their stress from exams. And then we can have a shared calendar and discuss how to follow it. And also it is very important to let different officers know each other's roles so they can work together. For example, events for LGBTQ+ students will also attract widening participation, disabled or international students. So I will let different officers work together to make it perfect.
Thank you.
I would first prioritise fortnightly meetings or review systems for all officers, especially with male equality, so that they can personally contact me if I was elected and have that in-person contact. I would also like to be the port of call for council members, making sure that they have access to relevant information, training and resources, because as students are really busy, efficiency and clear areas of contact are incredibly important for students.
Thank you.
I think having a collaborative and supportive environment is really key. As we know that student reps have competing priorities and we've all been there when we've been juggling things of our own. So I think clear communication and setting realistic expectations is so important. I want the student reps to know that I value their time and their commitment. I would also have fortnightly check-ins for extra support so I can give the reps positive feedback and they can give me their feedback. I think that by creating an inclusive and supportive team dynamic, reps will be able to contribute productively without feeling overwhelmed, because that's the last thing I would want. Yeah, thank you.
Great, I'll go on to the next question. You can all feel free to decide to go versus for the sake for it, keep on rotating to that every single time. But the second question is, the university's approach to accessibility has been a contentious point of discussion over the past term, particularly in relation to our World Changers Need Access campaign. If you were to be elected, what steps would you take to address the needs of disabled students and ensure an equal experience for all? How will you work to achieve these goals?
So working with the disability service, I'd like the requirements of all disabled students to be signposted to their relevant teachers and course conveners, so that timetabling services can accommodate their needs, such as wheelchair users or walking aid users do not have to scale hills or go into buildings like new gardens, which are completely inaccessible and unnecessary for class sizes that we do have. I would also like to suggest students facing chronic illnesses and mental illnesses to have the availability to ask lecturers to record and stream their lectures without facing discrimination, because I myself struggle to come in a lot of the time due to my own illnesses, so I feel like having that learning experience, that shouldn't have to be taken away just because of your physical capabilities.
Thank you.
So to ensure equal access, I will start by working directly with Disabled Society to fix urgent issues. We will create a barrier report system where students could report problems in real time, from broken lifts to unclear course materials. And next, I think the university should help teachers to record lectures. One of my professors said he wanted to record the lecture, but he always failed to do it. I understand, like, for people who are not from the young generation, they may not be good at doing the electronic devices stuff, but I think the university is responsible to help them with that, to make our class more accessible. And then I want to make sure the front door of GMS is always accessible. After 5 p.m. you have to walk upstairs to take a long detour to access the learning hub.
Thank you.
So I'll start by actively listening to the disabled student to understand their needs, working closely with the accessibility teams and support services. I will push for practical changes like adaptive technologies and improved physical access that ensures every student has an equal experience. Regular reviews and open dialogue will keep this initiative on track. Thank you.
Thank you, and then passing it back.
I really like the World Changers Need Access campaign, and seeing comments like noise cancelling headphones are a waste of time is just so disappointing in 2025. And since I have years of experience working with disabled students, I really understand and see these comments all the time. That's why I want to expand awareness and destigmatize the disabled students allowance. It's seen as a really lengthy and complex process, and it causes a lot of students anxiety, but I feel like it could be a really beneficial way for students to get extra support. I want to collaborate with students who have hidden and visible disabilities and review lecture accessibility, and even discuss the inclusion of a transcript for every single lecture in document form, because I think that would be really beneficial.
Thank you, all four of you. I'll just to keep exploring another area of work. The DPSS is responsible for supporting the SRC with formulating and executing a variety of community and inclusion-led observance events, including but not limited to Black History Month, 16 Days of Activism against DBB, and LGBTQ+ History Month. If you're elected, how would you seek to improve these initiatives, and what measures will you take to ensure their continued success? Happy for either Frank or Tasmin to take it.
Okay. So I think to improve initiatives, it's important that students that want to campaign learn how to campaign properly and use their voice effectively. So I would have a campaign skills workshop. I think collaboration with societies is really essential to uplift the student voice and making campaigns interactive with the general population. by making sure campaigns are both hybrid and on campus, bringing in external speakers and hosting interactive workshops to keep it all really, really engaging. I think campaigns should be targeted at making real change, like decolonising curriculums and improving reporting systems. I just want to make sure that the campaigns actually reach the students, because that's when they're most effective. So I'd want to conduct some sort of review to make sure that, to understand where we can improve to make campaigns more effective.
Thank you.
I would continue to communicate with other student unions such as GUU, QMU and GUSRC and get them involved in really large events such as Fight for the Night March. I was there myself and I was actually disappointed by the turnout of the student body. There weren't actually many of people in the societies that I'm in, which was disappointing, but I hope that I can change that. I would also suggest that societies across campus do engage with the SRC and have a feedback system, so events that they're particularly interested, such as the British Asian Society, the Afro-Caribbean Society, LGBTQ+ Society, they can actually personally feedback to the SRC and let the SRC know exactly what they want, so they know that their engagement will be greater and the impact will be better.
Yeah, I've done a lot of campaign before, and you may see me in the Glasgow City Centre in the past, and I think the SRC has done a lot of good campaigns. I will improve these events by working closely with student groups to make those events more inclusive and practical. One thing I think that is quite important is that today many students don't go to the campus that much, so consequently you can see the SRC has done a lot of social media efforts, but there are still many students we can hardly reach. We must explore new channels, for example, using less Western social media, apart from Facebook, Instagram, and so on. When TikTok was banned in America, users moved to a new app called the Red Note, which is widely used by today's U of G students. I will not force international students to use the Western media, but to find which social media they are actually in.
Thank you. And lastly, Rahul.
I plan to work hand in hand with community groups and even teams to co-create observance events that genuinely reflect our diversity. By gathering regular feedback, partnering with cultural organization and promoting events widely, we can boost participation and ensure the celebrations.
Thank you. I'll ask Brian to start the next one. So, the Vice President of Student Support is often a part of difficult policy discussions. Given the significant financial challenges the higher education sector is currently facing, what student support initiatives or investments would you seek to prioritise above others if the university were to undergo savings and cuts, and why?
If cuts happen, the first thing I would like to
protect is mental health services. Last year, I think 1/3 of the students using these services, so cutting these will leave hundreds struggling alone. I have a friend drop out of the university because of mental health problems. And second, emergency grant, which keeps students in the uni when crisis hit. However, I don't think U of G will cut these funds given public pressure. So I think what I should do is to protect money for societies. That's funds will be more easily to be cut by uni. I think the current funding for student activities is totally not enough. Some societies are not just clubs, they are lifelines.
Thank you.
So I would personally keep wellbeing and UPB services active. I have used Mind Your Mate, Mind Yourself, and I'd want to see that streamlined onto Moodle so it is accessible and doesn't take students out of their day-to-day life, because it is scheduled and sometimes you just can't make those sessions. Cuts probably will happen in our current climate with the economy and things like that. But I feel like money going to students, student welfare, is incredibly important, because happy, healthy and safe students are really productive and really successful students. So I'd really like to help elevate that culture of support so that all students feel fulfilled and happy with themselves at university.
Thank you.
If cuts were to happen, I think I would also prioritise mental health services. Things like career anxiety, academic stress and accessibility impact the mental health of all different types of groups. Academic stress impacts marginalised groups such as first generation university students. they suffer quite a unique pressure, so working with external companies like my academic family that provide mentorship and coaching could be really beneficial. I would push for cultural competency of student listeners and counselling staff that are already there, so that all support is inclusive and tailored to all students. I think that expanding mental health services to address these issues is key to helping students reach their potential, even if cuts were to happen, which, like you said, they probably will.
Thank you, all the way at the end.
If the university faces cuts, I would prioritize mental health and financial support services. These are vital for helping students to cope up with stress and rising living costs. By maintaining robust support through counseling, budgeting workshops and enhanced financial aid, we safeguard the essential services that underpin both academic success and personal well-being.
Thank you. We'll go now with the last scene question, and I'm happy for any of you to take it and start with it. As a sabbatical officer, you work closely with many senior university staff members. How do you plan to maintain a positive and professional working relationship with them, whilst maintaining and prioritising your student voice, a voice that may frequently conflict with theirs?
Okay. I plan to build strong, respectful relationships with the senior staff through open and honest dialogue by consistently presenting well-researched student feedback and constructive proposals. I will act as a bridge between the student community and the administration. My goal is to ensure that even when our views differ, the student voice remains clear, credible and influential.
Thank you.
So the first stage, I'm gonna find common ground with the senior management. I will frame student needs as a shared goals like boosting retention rates through better mental health support, which aligns with the university reputation priorities. I will use data-backed storytelling in meetings, combine surveys with my statement. For example, I will say a lot of students demand lecture recordings to push the university to support, to make the lecture more accessible. And when conflicts arise, say staff receive accessibility upgrades, I will say like, let's do it in one department before we push it for the whole university community. And then...
That's your time, sorry, thank you.
Sorry, I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Did it go
No, it's okay, I got it. So in university, obviously we have higher ups, they are incredibly important for the function of the university. However, their visions do not completely align with that of the student body. Specifically touching on divestment of arms, it is a very contentious subject and it is incredibly important to an amount of the student body. However, there is not enough engagement for that to really prove to the higher ups in the university that's what the student body wants. So, although I know conflict is likely to happen, it does not have to be a screaming match. It can be a civilized and really productive conversation where the thoughts, feelings, and emotional feelings of the students are heard by the higher ups and respected as they should be as an adult would be as well.
I think it's really important to back new proposals with evidence from data and testimonials and people turning up to campaigns like divestment from arms to ensure that the student voice is at the forefront of all new policy development. I don't think I would see senior management as my adversary. I think we're allies with a lot of shared goals like student success, retention and well-being, and working with students and student societies to create these evidence-based proposals and having students turn up and empowering them to advocate for themselves would really help. And I would always remain honest and transparent when communicating my interactions with senior management to the rest of the student body. At the end of the day, my job would be to make sure that student concerns are a priority to senior management, so I wouldn't hesitate to stand up to them when necessary.
Thank you so much to all of you for answering all those questions. Now I'll open it now to the floor to ask any questions you may have. So if you have any, Laura? You might have to do a bit of a back and forth. Gives people more time to think about questions.
Hi, so this is kind of for all of you. It's good to hear a few of you mention directly support for the LGBTQ+ community. I think that's a really important part of what the SRC does, and it's one of our key values. But I think it's also really important that that's not just highlighted during Pride Month, and I think a lot of students sometimes feel like the university doesn't do enough to make students and staff from within these communities feel welcome on campus. So it was just to ask you guys, if you were elected, what you would do as VPSS to kind of include these students and improve things for them.
I'll give it a crack.
So I would personally like to instill like quiet rooms, using rooms on campus that are remaining empty, and use it as a place of support and comfort for those in the community who are struggling to find companionship and strength on campus. I know that coffee mornings are incredibly successful. Having a very comfortable and safe environment for those students is incredibly important. Also, signposting students to support services across the city and within university on Moodle, on the university webpage, making it so accessible so that they never feel alone, not like they have to dredge through services to get the support that they need.
In the School of Psychology, they actually hold a rainbow office hours, which I think is really, really popular for students to get support within their own school. So I think that's something that could potentially be expanded to other schools. I would work with societies directly to gain a bit more knowledge on the struggles that they're facing, because it's not something that I'm the most knowledgeable about, and I would want to hear from their lived experiences to hopefully come to some solutions about how we can make their time better at university.
Hi, so constant communication and feedback would be the, I guess, most appropriate thing, because the problems and the things mostly changes from person to person. So it totally depends on the person, what he or she is feeling, and so the feedback would be most appropriate at that point.
Yeah, I agree with Aisha's point on using the empty room inside the university. In my manifesto, I actually said that I'm going to use all the empty rooms in the university and the SRC to create communities, for example, cafes or like game playrooms for everyone, and for some special groups. Actually, there's actually a lot of empty rooms which hasn't been used quite well for those groups. And for weekends, the university is closed, and I know some groups, some society want to find a place to in the uni to hold activities during the weekend and the summer. So
thank you. Are there any other questions from the floor? Over there, the white sweater. I'm sorry. I need to point out someone.
Thank you. No, I was going to ask, because I know a lot of you mentioned it in the first 2 minutes, when you spoke the first 2 minutes as well. How specifically do you think is there anything specifically you would put in place to help people with both hidden disabilities and visible disabilities? Would it be different for different people, or is there any specific things based on experience, based on lived experience, based on second-hand experience that you think you would implement straight away?
So, as I'm the part of the reach out team, so during my working hours, I've noticed most of the disabled students are usually they feel problem with the accessibility. They are not able to access the different levels or different floors sometimes, and even they find it difficult to access for certain types of PCs or certain studying area. So what I felt was it depends on individual what is required, and I guess the reach out team has started this initiative. They tell us to
I'll just ask you to go for.
yeah, so I think there's support for each student which works for everyone. For example, the mental health support, if you increase the fund for mental health support, then the disabled students they could come there for help. The problems of that, it's not only about their physical accessibility, it's also about their mental health. Yeah, and secondly, the specific measures I'm going to do to make the campus more accessible is, first of all, I mentioned about to make sure that the GMS store is always open, even in the night. It was open like every day 5 p.m.
Sorry. Thank you. Next.
I would personally like to see the disability services have direct contact with lecturers and course conveners for good and also with good cause reform, because personally I've had to pay £70 to get a letter from my therapist to prove that I deserved an extension, which I at the time couldn't afford, but due to my own hard work. So I do feel like good cause should be reformed so that students, no matter what they're going through, can be trusted by the staff that they are telling the truth and that they're genuine in their struggles. I feel like there is that disparity between students and lecturers. There is this level of distrust in each other, and I feel like that should be improved, and that the disability services should be more accessible than a Teams call. I feel like there should be someone on the other line of the phone to talk to.
I think students with hidden disabilities have a really unique struggle because they almost have this burden of proof to prove that they actually require support. So I think that launching some kind of campaign to make students and lecturers and counselling staff aware of hidden disabilities and the forms that can take would be really, really beneficial, and also pushing for an inclusion of a lecture transcript for people who are hard of hearing or might just require it for whatever reason. And also working with student societies like the Endometriosis and PCOS Society, people that have chronic conditions, would be really, really beneficial to kind of raise awareness about those things and push for better support.
Thank you. Are there any other more questions from the floor? CJ?
So looking through all of your manifestos, you have a lot of great ideas in terms of mental support, disability support and the like, but my question is, where exactly do you think the funding from that is going to come from? We know, looking from like past finances, that the budget can be quite tight, so where would you find the funding, and if you're not, which parts of the funding would you cut to facilitate your plans?
Anyone wants to
Quite-
take that one
She's
first?
done it
Quite
again.
data-driven question.
Oh, yeah. Face the head off.
I personally think that resources should be streamlined online so that money and finances can be streamlined to an extent where students still can access help but not place a burden on to the SRC budget. I've never been on council, so I'm not fully aware of the situation, but I do know, talking to other council members, that things can be discussed and projects can be put in place, potential fundraising, potential student-led schemes to help improve the costing of these help sessions or resources. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that I would kind of discuss further if I was elected working with the university. I think working with external organisations could be really useful. Like I mentioned, my academic family that provides like mentorship and coaching to first generation students, and that would kind of alleviate some burden on them. Making campaigns more visible also to the student population, I feel like that could be really, really beneficial, and working with students and societies to understand what kind of initiatives and workshops they're running, and if we can kind of integrate that in some way with counselling services.
I think an answer like many people may want to hear is to cut the salary of the principal, to cut the salary of the senior management. I think we need to do that. Edinburgh University already done that, like the USA, they done it a lot. Yeah, the salary of the senior management is surprisingly high. And secondly, I will review the budget of SRC. I think not a lot of students have concern about that before, so I think the SRC does not publish a budget like every year. Yeah, so we will find somewhere to save money.
Yeah, so this was like quite data-driven question. So I don't have any like proper idea like where can we cut funding through. But I hope I could discuss with the senior officials and the sabbatical officers. They could give us an idea from where funding.
Thank you. Are there any more?
It's kind of touching on something that Frank mentioned, but it is a question for all of you guys again. The SRC does actually publish the annual reports every year on the website, and every minutes from the council meetings are also published. But I am aware that a lot of students maybe don't realise that. They don't realise that those documents are accessible. Students are supposed to read them. We want students to read them for that kind of transparency that we're talking about. Is there any way that you guys think that you could encourage students to interact with that sort of thing a bit more directly? Because it is all there. I think students just don't look at it, and a lot of them don't realise that those things are there to be looked at.
Feel free for any of you to take that one first.
I mean, yeah, I only recently found the council meeting minutes when I was doing research into applying for this role. So yeah, that really speaks to your point. I think that posting on social media and getting the word out there and encouraging students to look at it, especially students that are involved in campaigning, letting them know that they do have access to those documents for the sake of transparency and honesty. And yeah, just posting on social media would be my first port of call.
Mirroring that, social media is incredibly useful nowadays, so posting on the SRC account, quick summaries at the council meeting, click here if you want to learn more, that sort of thing, to keep people engaged. I'd also like to see images posted on the JMS and around other university buildings saying, council minutes available, here's a summary of the council minutes, to make it really easy and accessible for students to read and understand. It can be intimidating, delving into the world of student politics and council, so I want to make it as easy as possible for students.
Yeah, so to improve the transparency and to make it more accessible, you don't just publish your report. I think the SRC need to put it on social media. So you put key figures on your Instagram post, telling students how much you're gonna spend each year. It's also very important for students to realize SRC is an important student organization. I know like each student union will spend a huge amount of money. But most students does not realize that it's a big amount of money, and they can't decide where the money goes. And for the university, I think we need to have more events directly to question the principal and the senior management. How do they decide the policy?
So even I wasn't aware about the documents we can read online. I got to know a few days ago when I was applying for the post. I believe President and Vice President of the student unions play an important role providing information to the students, so they could like really encourage through their social media accounts and WhatsApp groups to like increase transparency.
Thank you. Any more questions? We'll take the last one. Iris.
Thank you. I'll finish on a nice one. That's not really too much. I won't put too much into it. As VPSS, you're responsible for representing the diverse student body that we have here at Glasgow University. Between you all, you prove that coming from various different backgrounds. Whilst you might not have lived experience, as we mentioned quite a few times in this panel, between you of every single group out there, what skill set and how will you effectively represent all these different groups that you're working on?
Personally, being the president of the Feminist Society, on Executive Society and helping in the Fem Club, I've met an incredibly wide range of students, mainly from the female experience, but I do understand what it takes to be able to communicate with a wide group of people. That's 17 societies in the Fem Club that I'm able to communicate with and delegate and produce results from. So yeah, I feel like I am able to communicate with people. I don't carry prejudice. I carry a lot of respect and understanding for people from different cultures. I have a mixed background, even though you can't really tell. Yeah, I know what it's like to feel a bit out of place and not heard. So I really want to make sure that all students have the ability to talk their lived experience.
Yeah, I think having worked within mental health services and working with disabled students and being in a minority student society, I kind of developed that skill of interacting with students or people that are in a really vulnerable place. And I think part of that comes from just being okay to be vulnerable and say like, yeah, I don't know anything, but I really, really want to learn more and I want to hear more about your experience and get to understand that on a deeper level. And I think being from a diverse background myself, I kind of also have that vulnerability to know that I would love it if someone understood me, asked me questions and showed that part of themselves. So yeah, it's something I'm really comfortable with.
Yeah, so I'm a group, and I think the SRC should provide more language support for students who do not use English as their native language. And finally, I recently...
So from my undergraduate years, I've been involved in national service schemes where I used to arrange blood donation camps and disability services camps. Along with this, I was the member of chair of event management in my undergraduate years. I have skills of working with senior officials and professor as I've worked on 3 different research projects during my past experiences. So this has given me a proper overview from students and towards the senior officials and the professors to work with.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. That was great and best of luck. We'll take now a 5-minute break before we go into the president candidates. Thank you. is where you'll be timing using the bell just to let you know once your time has gone off. And then I'll start asking you the previously sent questions with a maximum of 45 seconds per question per answer. And I'll ask you to just keep on rotating who starts first, just for the sake of fairness in answering the questions. And once we've gone through the different previously sent questions, I'll open up the floor for any questions you might have. And again, you have 45 seconds to answer each question. So, with that being said, Duncan, do you want to take it away?
Yes. My pitch is simple. I love this uni, I love the SRC, and I want to be SRC president because I would love to see both be even better. I won't lie, I, like so many of us here, have struggled at times studying at this university. I'm a home student and a student carer, which is why I see it as vital that student representation functions as well as it possibly can. And this is something I hope to oversee if elected. As president, I want to work towards a good cause reform that protects students who have been affected by gender-based violence, tackle classism culture on campus, and publish a student activism guide that will help students who want to stand up for what they believe in to protect themselves. These policies are just some on the list of priorities I will talk more about tonight. While the divestment vote did not go the way we wanted, I have been at the forefront of the SRC's efforts to finally see the uni divest from arms and to stop its complicity in the suffering unfolding in Gaza. As SRC President, I will continue the work of the current exec, and by using the knowledge, experience and relationships of management that I have as court assessor, I will sustain momentum towards divestment so that students can feel proud that they study at a university that respects human life over profit. The values of this institution are also extremely important to me. LGBTQ+ rights, racial and gender equality, disability rights, environmental justice. These are all things I hold personally as core principles, and ones I will champion as the President of the SRC. On March 5th and 6th, the choice is simple. What students need is an experienced and powerful voice who will cooperate where they can and challenge where they should, and someone who can be trusted to make good on their commitments to students. All in the interest of students, all students. This election, vote Duncan for SRC President. Thank you.
Thank you. So do you want to go next?
I'll give it to Mohammed.
Thank you very much. I joined at 11th hour. I was on my bike. So my name is Mohammed. I'm a postgraduate student at Edinburgh Business School. I just came here 4 months ago from Pakistan, and I'm running for SRC President because I have some interesting ideas, though I don't have much experience at Glasgow Uni. So my vision is to reform SRC. I want SRC to be a body that puts students first and serve their interests. I want all of you to have a fulfilling university experience that actually you deserve, being a world changer. And in this position, I aim to empower all of you through my vision of welfare and reform while upholding the values we all stand for as part of this community. So I want to advocate for equal opportunities for all. Equal opportunities mean from all backgrounds, whether it's economic or socio-economics, or your identity, gender, religion, sexuality. And affordable housing for students, this is what I've suffered a lot as an international student, and increased financial aid, more scholarships for students, and personalized career coaching. So my agenda is based on all my experience, what I've been through in the last 4 months. And one of my top priorities is to push university to divest from entities involved in conflicts, especially in Gaza. And I want to push for a more transparent recruitment system, because I've talked to many students and they've told me that there is a difference between, there are some underprivileged areas in Glasgow.
Sorry, that's thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, hi everyone, my name is Hamza, and I am somehow a 4th year student studying international relations and Central Eastern European studies. It remains a miracle to me. It has been a great honour to study and contribute towards the richness of this university. It is an even greater honour, let me say, to be sitting here as a candidate to lead the most important institution that this university has. To my surprise, 4 years has flown away. I'm sure you guys can all relate. However, I would like to think that I've made the most of the opportunities available to me here at Glasgow. Academically, I've been involved in the Debating Society, the International Relations Society, Glasgow Trading and Investment Club. Good to have an ambassador here as well. Culturally, I've been involved in the British Asian Society. I was the VP of that first semester, and also Glasgow University Muslim Student Association. Sporting-wise, I've been involved in establishing the MMA Society, so I've had first-hand experience of how to grow organisations and grow new initiatives. However, I now find myself seeking the greatest opportunity, and that is representing you guys. Student life can be difficult. We all understand that. There's many competing challenges, studies, social life, and other commitments. I want to make clear to all of you guys that the SRC is here to support you. By establishing a personalised mentor scheme to the first ever SRC entrepreneurship incubator, I will do everything I can to help enhance the student experience. And of course, I will make sure that the senior management hears our calls and put a stop to the injustice, whether they be here to local communities, whether they be overseas, like the issue with Gaza. I will be a strong voice for the students. I will be a strong voice for you. Thank you for considering me as your candidate to become the next SRC president. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy for any of you to decide to take on the first question, but I'll just throw it out there. So the SRC must balance being both a critical voice and a collaborative partner with the university. Can you provide an example of a situation where you would adopt a confrontational approach and another where you would choose a more diplomatic approach? How will you determine the best approach for each situation?
So yeah, I acknowledge the importance of working alongside the different SRC stakeholders, of which there are many, some which we agree with, some which there are natural disagreements. However, I truly believe that change and positive transformation is always better achieved collectively. So for an example of where I would collaborate with the senior management or with senior stakeholders is working on a project related to academic excellence or design. A long-term strategy requires the input of both the voices and the students, but also the experiences of senior management. Not to say I won't challenge aspects of this. I think challenging can only enhance these projects. Confrontation is necessary. If the university is seen to be committing injustices anywhere, I would like to challenge that. That could be exploiting international students, failing to call out injustices overseas.
Sorry.
Right.
Well, I've made it no secret my stance in divestment, and I would challenge the university on its current stance on this issue. As Court says, I've been a part of the effort to press the university to divest, and while, again, the vote did not go the way we wanted, I haven't lost hope, and I'll continue to push Court to do the right thing in the future. Being more diplomatic, I would take a collaborative approach with the SMG when it comes to improving support for widening participation students. As Court says, I know this is something the university seems, at least in principle, willing to work with us to improve. However, when it comes to determining an approach, I would take a really collaborative approach with my sabbatical team. I believe that it takes a united front. It does indeed take a village. Listening to the other subs is something I would rely on. I think I have a really democratic leadership style, and I value that insights at every opportunity.
Thank you. Mohan?
So I think I need to balance the both during my time because sometimes we can achieve our purpose through one approach and sometimes we have to adopt a different approach. And I think if a university, for example, is increasing tuition fee, which is unfair, I would definitely adopt confrontational approach, and I will organize protest and fight for the right of students. But on the other hand, if university is working for mental health and it is inadequate, then I will definitely collaborate with the university to improve the areas and to stitch the gaps, because that's the area where we need to collaborate.
That's time, Sir Mohammed. I might ask you to stay on and answer the next question, if that's all right.
Okay.
So within the SRC strategic plan, we're committed to delivering 4 student-led campaigns each year. If you had complete control over these, what 4 campaigns will your sabbatical team lead on and why?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, so within the SRC strategic plan, we're committed to delivering 4 student-led campaigns each year. If you had complete control over these, What 4 campaigns will your sabbatical team lead on and why?
I'm sorry.
I'll read it one third time, it's fine.
Yeah.
So within the SRC strategic plan, we're committed as an SRC to delivering 4 student-led campaigns each year. If you had complete control over which of these 4 campaigns you would do, which of them, what 4 campaigns will your sabbatical team lead on and why?
Which 4 university initiatives would you like to lead on?
Yeah, I would like to work for inclusivity and for mental health, which is my top priority because I am registered with the Disability Service and I know how important it could be. And divestment is my top priority. And the 4th one, I think I want to work on scholarships, financial aid and scholarship.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so
That's fine.
So yeah, strategic plans are incredibly important in driving forward the university's mission. Focused efforts on a handful of particular issues goes a long way in sort of promoting the university and effecting meaningful change. So 4 campaigns that I would like to work on is giving back to local communities, so that's partnering with charities, our charity officer, schools, going into schools, speaking to people about university and potential opportunities within university. The conflict support scheme, Glasgow University is a very welcoming place. I think the diversity in this room is testament to that. Giving those who have suffered from conflict an opportunity to come back to education. Thirdly, the International Day, embracing diversity here. And then lastly, the health campaign, which I'll do in partnership with GUSRC to try and get university students to be more active in their lifestyle.
Thank you.
Okay, well, while it's hard to choose just 4 things to focus on, I would focus on these following campaigns. I believe we should do an SRC campaign against classism culture on campus, which I've already mentioned. Following the controversies at Edinburgh Uni, I believe this is something that we have here as well, and we need to focus on it and eradicate it from our campus. Secondly, publishing a student activism guide. I believe that we should be encouraging students to make their voices heard. I think a student activism guide, such as the one they have at St Andrews, would go a long way to bolster our community's commitment to social justice. Number 3, our renewed harm reduction campaign. I think we need to renew our efforts to push for drug testing kits on campus and promote information on what to do in alcohol-related emergencies. And finally, I would conduct an annual priorities survey, or at least initiate an annual priorities survey, because I think we need to engage more directly with students on the issues that matter most to them.
Thank you. Now I'll ask you to stay on for that one, for the next one. So the next question is, the university's new strategy will shape its trajectory over the next decade. Reflecting on how previous thematic strategies have been implemented, both their successes and shortcomings, what steps will you take to ensure the new strategy is meaningfully executed? And how will you hold the university accountable for delivering on its commitment to students?
I think the university's new strategy, considering the themes of community and challenges, are areas where I think the SRC has a big responsibility in helping shape and promoting the students. In these strategies, the university says it wants to focus on enabling access to education, and as a willing participation student, someone who focuses on these issues, I will personally hold them accountable to this via the campaign that I've already discussed this evening. I would also seek to empower individual council members to hold the universities accountable on the areas within their remit, such as the environmental officer, the gender equality officer, and others. In order to focus on these strategies, I think the university needs to consult more with the students in the SRC. They've begun to do this by attending our council meetings this year, which I'd be really glad to see. And as SRC president, I will encourage more of this cooperation between staff and students.
So, just repeat that question for me again.
Yes, so the university's new strategy will shape its trajectory over the next decade, reflecting on how previous thematic strategies have been implemented, both their successes and shortcomings. What steps will you take to ensure the new strategy is meaningfully executed, and how will you hold the university accountable for delivering on its commitments to students?
So, strategies are often set top-down, and I think there's an issue in that, right? I think we need to input student voices into these strategies, and having a top-down approach is actually ineffective. So I would try and work with senior management to try and initiate bottom-up change. So like you said, sitting in the meetings, I would like to have them involved in the conversation. But then once the strategy has been determined, I would like to break down a larger strategy into small manageable chunks and sort of delegate that around to different people and different stakeholders. And then reviewing the progress that has been made on these strategies is critical. Having a review process, a system where we can check and we can have a look at where the progress has been made, where the inefficiencies still lie. And then it's absolutely important that we hold management to account. They are here to represent us as students, so we need to ensure that that is happening at its finest operation.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah, so I would like to include more students in it and get some feedback from them. So this would be my strategy for that. And I second consent to working with senior management and setting smart goals, small, measurable, achievable and time-specific goals. And so this is the best way to evaluate whether a strategy is being implemented and what areas we can improve.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to answer the next one first, if that's okay. So the higher education sector, as we mentioned before, is facing significant financial constraints, with institutions being forced to make tough decisions on spending. What would be your top priorities for the student experience in a restricted budget, and why?
So throughout the Hustings, financial constraints has been an issue, right? And education, unfortunately, now has become a bit of a business. People like to try and profit off it, whether that be recruiting more international students. I know you guys led a campaign on capping student numbers. So that money is definitely going somewhere, right? There's definitely money that is in the SRC, and I don't want to bore you guys, or the university, should I say. I don't want to bore you guys with economics, but when there's a deficit somewhere, there's always a surplus elsewhere. So I'd like to look and do a review about where the finances are being spent and making sure that they're being spent in the university's interests and the students' interests.
Thank you.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about financial interests and the SRC's finances, but not a lot of talk about why that is. The Scottish Government's funding of universities is not where it needs to be. Frankly, it hasn't risen in line with inflation, and it's having a knock-on effect on the student experience. So first and foremost, I would seek to lobby the Scottish Government on this inadequate funding. But focusing on the here and now, my top priorities for the student experience are this: protect and promote the services of the Advice Centre, which are vital to students as they navigate university life. Clubs and societies are the backbone of the student experience, and they need adequate funding and support from us in order to be able to perform their role on campus. And finally, we need to be putting money into campaigns and communications so that students know that we are standing up for them on the issues that matter to them most.
Thank you. So my priority would be spending more on mental health. I can understand that Scottish universities, even all universities in the whole UK, are going through financial constraints. But I think after COVID, mental health has been very important issue for students. As I have mentioned, I have experience of it. And secondly, I would like to mention that my whole focus is on providing financial aid to students. And we can even establish financial aid for students from different backgrounds who are underprivileged. So LGBTQ people and other people who are underrepresented at university.
Thank you. That's time. I might ask you to stay on for the next one, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So with more students working to afford their studies, academic performance and well-being are increasingly at risk. What specific actions should the university take to prevent financial hardship from becoming a barrier to academic success? How will you seek to achieve them?
So balancing working and studying, how would you try and help students who are sort of
So I know that a university is actively working on mental health in the last few years. So I am planning to provide more access to counseling services. Because again, I would mention that my experience has been it's not too good. So I would like to work on it by establishing listening teams, students who can listen. I'm sorry for my bad English, and I'm sorry I can't understand Scottish accent. So I want to establish a team of volunteers who can listen to students, because sometimes when it comes to mental health, it's...
Sorry, that's time. Do you want to take that from Sam?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, working and studying it's a difficult trade-off to balance, and I think it's becoming increasingly common for students to be studying full-time but also to be managing other commitments. The result of this is quite drastic actually. I mean, people are dropping out, and what that results in is inequality grows. Those that can remain in education and who have the finances to remain in education remain in education. So we need to be supporting and understanding their needs and accommodating them, and this may be, you know, speaking to the staff members, working with the class reps to try and accommodate people who are balancing other commitments, a flexible policy, and then also I'd like to see an increase in hardship funds. A number of us are here with widening access participation. I'd like to see that enhanced, and I'd like to see more people take up those opportunities and making them more accessible to all those individuals who require them.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I'm uniquely placed to answer this question. I come from a lower economic disadvantaged background, and I also work part-time, so I know quite a lot about this. I think there are many ways the university can improve on support for students experiencing financial hardship, including, for example, lowering the threshold for the hardship fund. But I think a major barrier for students getting help needed for this is shame and stigma, and I think what the university needs to do now is promote a culture change when it comes to accessing things like the hardship fund, good cause and extension requests. Undeniably, financial hardship can be a major amount of stress, and our advice centre is vital to helping students do this. And I think what they need more now is more support from the SRC, and as an executive I will push for the funding to be protected, to be increased, and for research to be promoted.
That's then. I might ask you to stay on for the last question before I open it to the floor. So, as president of the SRC, you would be responsible for overseeing the work of the 3 vice presidents. Do you have any managerial experience, and how do you plan to work with your team?
I think many of us here who are doing Welcome Week helping know that I have managerial experience from being a team leader of Welcome Week 24, and they know how much I loved it. I don't think I was, sorry. At times my team experienced some low numbers, but I think I managed them quite well, and I think we contributed to the massive success that Welcome Week 24 was. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a very democratic leadership style, and I really value taking others' opinions and criticism where needed. I also want to treat council with more agency this year and ask for their input before making the big decisions. But that being said, I do consider myself to have good judgment, and I'm not afraid to use it when time for democratic input just isn't there.
Thank you.
Yep. So how would I manage, VPs?
Yes, so as president of the SRC, you'll be responsible for overseeing the work of 3 vice presidents. Do you have any managerial experience, and how do you plan to work with your team?
So I think the hustings today is testament to the talent of the VPs here today. So you know, I think it's in their best interest to drive what they truly believe in, and I will absolutely support everything that they have to offer. I think there's some great ideas being circulated around here as well. But throughout the university, I've held several management positions. I've been an ambassador for this university internationally. I've held, committee positions with various different societies, clubs, sports clubs, and I've also been involved in the SRC as a welcome helper, as a volunteer at times, and also ran unsuccessfully for the School of Social and Political Science. So yeah, working closely with them all, inputting their ideas, feeding it together, I think that's where the best ideas are generated, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
I have worked as a journalist for 6 years before coming to Glasgow, and I've covered conflict zones like Ukraine and Azerbaijan. But I have also worked in bureau, in a very complex hierarchy of organizations. So I think as a leader, the most important thing is to listen to others and to work collaboratively. So I'm committed to it. And I've got some ideas, I want to work on it. I know my Scottish accent is not good. I have problem with English. I just learned this language a couple of years ago, but I will improve it. I have passion, commitment, and I can work with other VPs to improve and achieve what I really want to do.
Thank you, three of you for going through all those questions. I'll open it now to the floor to ask any questions you might have. Yes, Aisha? Get a microphone to you. No, it's over there. Sorry.
One, two. So following on just that question there, obviously students and your vice presidents will often
course reality comes in, and this may not always be possible. I was a team leader at Welcome Week. I had to delegate tasks when members of our team dropped out. We were still able to do that really effectively, and we were still able to contribute and make Welcome Week as big a success as it was. So I think as president I'd be able to replicate that behaviour and make sure that our team is successful even if a member can't be with us.
Yeah, so life can obviously throw many different cards at anyone, illnesses is obviously a major one, mental health illnesses, time management, stuff like that. So I want to create that safe space for any VP and any council member to feel free to come and chat to me. I'm always approachable, I'm very welcoming. I understand these issues, I go through them myself. So yeah, I want to create that safe space where as long as the work is being completed, everything else is all good.
Honestly, I applied at Greg's as a team member. So they asked the same question. So if one of my colleague is not well, then I will definitely listen to and try to address and try to offer my support first of all, what I can do, and then I think if I collaborate, then we can deal it well.
Thank you. Any other question?
The thing is listening to your colleagues.
CJ, I think you had it before.
Following on the tradition I do every year of asking each presidential candidate a manifesto-specific question for this bubble, I'll just go from the line down. So Duncan, first. Duncan, you say in your manifesto that you would like to work on the good cause reform in regards to cases of GBV and reproductive health. This has been a focus for the SRC for a few years now. What change do you think you could implement to help remedy that?
Well, like I said earlier, I want to encourage more cooperation with senior management. I want to bring them into our council meetings and really have students make their voices heard in this issue. I think it's a really powerful tool to convince them, to bring them over to their side and convince them of why this issue is so important to us. All students, really. I also want to collaborate more with the special interest groups on campus, such as Glasgow Students for Choice and Feminist Society, really bring them into the conversation. And I think with a strategy we can finally achieve that good cause reform that so many students have been asking for and so many students need.
Thank you. For Hamza, in your manifesto, I noticed that it focused primarily on careers. As amazing as that is, there is already an established career center and SRC Advice Center. As if elected, you would be SRC president for a whole year. What other things would you focus on?
Yeah, so careers are obviously a huge importance to me. I mean, I know a lot of students who graduate from this illustrious university and don't end up landing jobs, so I want to try and bridge that gap for them. Other than that, I want to promote sustainability and a transparent campus, right through from the council to senior management. I want to make sure that our voices are being represented at the largest scale. The other thing was to integrate and to bring the diversity, the great diversity we have on campus, fostering a sense of community and sort of leading everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Mohammed, looking through your manifesto, you mentioned that you want to reform the SRC, the Student Representative Council, to put students first, serving their interests. However, looking through your agenda points, a lot of the issues you've raised have been contested and worked on by the team you wish to reform. My question is, what specific change do you want to implement that hasn't already been accounted for?
Sorry, can you repeat this last time, please?
From what part?
Just repeat the question.
Just the last line.
Okay, my question is, what specific change do you want to implement that hasn't already been accounted for?
Okay. So, change in which context?
So, what is there that the SRC hasn't done that you would like to do?
Okay.
Is there anything specific?
Yeah. So, as I have mentioned, that there is need to be more transparent recruitment process. This is what I feel that I should work with the university after becoming the president, because if you see the website of Scottish government, you will see there are some blue areas and some red areas in Glasgow, and in red areas their employment rate is 1 out of 10, and in blue areas 10 out of 10. So I want everyone to be able to have opportunity to study at this university. Because I think I've met a lot of people who just go to Caledonian or Strathclyde because they are not privileged.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the public? Person with a meeting.
Say that each of you guys get elected, what's the first thing that each of you guys are going to do?
First thing that I would like to see done is to establish an entrepreneurship incubator here at the SRC. I think there's a lot of talented individuals here and also university, and I think by establishing that incubator, people can come to the SRC, pitch their ideas forward, and we can sort of allocate resources accordingly to try and help generate innovative ideas, businesses, social enterprises, and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of engagement from that, from conversations I've been having, so that's definitely something that I'd like to push forward.
Well, if I'm elected, the first thing I'd like to do is something that hasn't already been done before in the university. I'd like to initiate a democracy review. As you may notice, a lot of seats in this room are empty, and I think we should be doing a better job in understanding what students think of our democracy. We should be consulting with them and coming up with ways of reforming that before we head into our next year's elections.
Can I add one point? I would like to start a reading circle because this is something, reading habit is declining, so attracting all book nerds to be under one roof.
Sign me up.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor? Laura?
This question is directly for Hamza, if that's okay. You've talked a lot about the entrepreneurship hub. Could you kind of just detail exactly what that would look like and why you think that's something that's appropriate for the SRC to do and not the career service?
Yeah, so to be honest, this can be in partnership with all avenues of the university. It's not restricted, and in fact I actually promote that. But what it is, it's sort of a room or a space where people can come and pitch their ideas and, you know, whatever they're feeling. Say, for example, you want to start a new clothing company or something. You can come to the SRC. As the SRC, we should be connected with the university and with different stakeholders. So you might want to go speak to the textile community here on campus. So it's really just connecting you with the relevant individuals so you can drive forward whatever you want to change. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry, that was just me.
Any more questions? Yes, closest to me.
Hey. Yeah, I've heard quite a lot today about the divesting in arms, but I believe the university does have quite noticeable sort of contracts that rely on that sort of investment, but I've not heard any ideas from you guys about any alternative investments that would actually provide an actionable solution to the divesting in arms.
Yeah, I suppose that goes back to one of the points I was making. Education is now a business, right? And I think the university recently just signed a contract just opposite the JMS to construct £300 million worth of new buildings. So they obviously want money, but we need to sort of look into new avenues of sustainable and ethical investment so we can drive it forward. Now those are difficult conversations that we need to have with the university, and I would love to be able to sort of navigate that carefully and constructively to help promote the university and to help get the investment that it needs to sort of serve the students.
Well, the SCORE assessor have already been involved in the discussions around this topic, and the university is planning to go ahead with a socially responsible investment policy, which is redirecting investment in things like tobacco and fossil fuels into more cleaner forms of energy such as solar, but they're not doing that with arms. So with arms, they could put that money also into the clean energy and other viable forms of investment that do not contribute to human suffering. They just don't want to do it. So we really need to push them towards the green energy solutions they've already been championing for fossil fuels reinvestment, and away from arms investment, which is ultimately leading to the atrocities that we're seeing in the Middle East.
Can I add a quick point, please?
So my idea is we can invest in green energy and more sustainable businesses and ethical businesses. This is how we can achieve our both objectives of sustainability as well, which is part of University of Glasgow 2025 strategy, and we can divest from such entities. And I'm very glad that we three are together on the issue of divestment. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. Ayush?
With rising living cost and rising tuition fees, how will you push for better financial support for students, especially those struggling with rent, food and transport?
Yeah, the cost. Do you want to? Yeah, cost of living is obviously a really difficult issue, and I think it requires some real creative solutions about how we can sort of, still bring in the students and still advocate for people to come into the university, but then making sure that they've got the resources to be able to carry out what they need to be doing, not managing 3 to 4 different jobs. So I think I'd like to look into the hardship fundings. I'd like to look into the ways the SRC can sort of help students navigate that career, whether that be connecting them to opportunities, connecting them to jobs, and the likes of that. But yeah, it's a really difficult issue. I think it goes beyond a lot of different people as well, so I'd like to look at the way the university currently deals with that as well, and try and see if we can review and improve some of these existing structures.
Yeah, so unfortunately, mine isn't growing cheese, right? We do have to make do with what we have in the university. The university, depending on things like the Scottish Funding Council, for the money it's allowed to spend in unis. So we really do have to have a think about the ways in which we could reallocate the money so it affects the cost of living appropriately. I think one of the ways we can change that in the here and now is by lowering the threshold for the hardship funds. That's a really simple way of getting to more students. But we also, again, like I mentioned earlier, have to really participate in a culture change and really communicating clearly what resources are available to students and how they can use them and how they can apply for them in order to support students who are experiencing financial hardship in this cost of living crisis.
Honestly, when I came here, I was thinking about how students can be supported, especially international students. So my idea is that, I'm already in touch with few people because I was a journalist, so I was in contact with a lot of organizations. So my idea is that we can establish scholarships with the help of private donors, because honestly the universities have financial constraints. And secondly, we can collaborate with private lenders for international students and for students from England as well and now Northern Ireland. That is a more practical approach. Yeah. And I would like to mention that there is a university which is fully...
That's time, sorry. Any more questions? Laura?
This is for all three candidates. It was really just that none of you kind of directly mentioned the other unions on campus other than some brief mentions of GUSRC and QMU. Where do you see the SRC's role with the other unions and how would you kind of interact with them as president?
Yeah, I mean, I've been having conversations with other people who are running for different union positions, and from my understanding, they view the SRC as sort of this admin, this bureaucracy, so I want to change that relationship. I want to sort of establish us as a real partner with them, so supporting their initiatives, being present, and improving that transactional relationship to something that's a bit more constructive.
Well, as a council member, I've had the privilege of working with cross-campus bodies this year and really building those relationships with them. One of the ways the SRC collaborates with cross-campus bodies is through our campaigns, such as the Days of Activism and the Fight for the Night March, which had a great turnout across the 4 bodies. I'd work with the 4 union military bodies to really increase the promotion of these campaigns, really get more students out there. And yeah, I've already been talking to a couple of other candidates for board positions in other unions, and we're really united in our attempts to really get this Emily test thing off the ground, and I'd work with them to be United Fund, where we talk to SMG about the Emily test, to finally see the union pledge to this, like they promised.
Yeah, I agree that coordination is very important. As my motto is to improve university experience, I think without GUSRC or GUU or other bodies, we can't enhance our experience. experience, because sport is integral part of university, and academic, sports, and what we offer here at SRC, all when it's a balance. So this is how we can achieve a good university experience.
Any more questions from the floor, Ayush?
Again, my question is on divestment for all three of you. How will you hold the university accountable for ensuring transparency in where student fees are invested?
Say the last part again, please.
How will you hold a university accountable on how the university's student fees are invested on, how student fees are invested on university?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, I might ask someone else to start.
yeah, sorry.
Well, as a court assessor, I've already been efforts to hold the court and university accountable for how it spends its money. I really am not familiar with what you're talking about with regards to student visa investiture, but it's my priority to see that all the university's money is invested properly and in areas which are consistent with students' values. Another thing that I believe you know about Ayush is the UKVI visa. And the way in which international students are tracked. I personally don't agree with it. I know that it's a Home Office regulation, but I'd like to work with the university to find a way in which we can, not monitor international students, but keep track of them in a way that privacy is not infringed on. Okay?
Yeah, so sort of back to the conversation regarding investments, right? So obviously at the moment, I think there's a clear consensus amongst the students that the university is not investing in our interests, right? So we need to review that process. We need to have a systematic, and we have a results-driven process already. I know there's a lot of great initiatives that have been run by the SRC, been run by JPS, Justice for Palestine Society. So we need to just try and have those different conversations and get them on board and try and persuade them that our way of thinking is more strategic, is better for the university, is better for the students, and is also better globally.
Yeah, so I agree with Hamza and Duncan both that assessment is important, review of investment is important, and thirdly, working with the management is also important. So all three we can achieve this, and you've been already working on it. So, and even I would like to mention that even I would like to collaborate with senior members of SRC to get insights that how to achieve our objective, because I believe in working together. That's my motto.
Natasha, I think you had a question.
Hi, so, oh God. I was reading of the manifestos earlier, and the only person who mentioned gender-based violence, the MLHS, any of that, was Duncan. Can I ask all three of you, ending with Duncan, so he doesn't go first, what your policies are and what you'll be doing for students in this regard?
Yeah, so obviously with a 500-word limit on the manifestos, there's only so much one can include. And look, that's not to detract from the importance of that issue, right? I think, some of the issues raised in the Emily Charter, I'd like to look into that. I've not really viewed it myself. But we want to try and create a safe and collaborative and open space for every single person on campus, whatever community you belong to, the LGBTQ community, the ethnic minority community, the list can go on, right? There's so many marginalised communities on campus. We want to make sure that everyone feels welcomed here and they are supported, whatever their needs are. So, just repeat that question for us, please. Yeah. Let's get it again.
What would you do to tackle gender-based violence on campus?
What would you do to tackle gender-based violence on campus? Anything else?
I think we can collaborate with organizations which already have been working and they have their expertise, and a lot of students are working as a volunteer in that organization. So we can draw a strategy by including more people recurring question, so we can all work together. Shout out to Pablo. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, like I've already mentioned several times tonight, I'm going to work collaboratively across campus with our 3 other student union bodies, QMU, GU and GUSRC, to really hammer home the MLTS Charter and make sure the university finally pledges to it. I also, like you've mentioned, Natasha, the good cause reform. I know that we've hit a road bump with that one in the past, but working together with student societies on campus, such as Glasgow Students for Choice and Feminist Society, among others, with a strong student voice, I'm sure we can get the university to finally commit to a good cause reform that protects people who have experienced gender-based violence and those who want to seek out reproductive health so they're not punished in any way.
Thank you. Questions? Aisha?
I just need to follow up on this because the MLTS Charter is a quite a well-known charter within the UK, especially in Scotland. I do find it a little disappointing that you were not aware of this, which, you know, if you're busy, I can almost understand. But what I wanna ask is, how would you personally support students that have gone through things? Like, how would you want to be able to address these students and protect them from their assailants on campus? Me personally, I see my assailant on campus and I can do nothing to protect myself. So I just want to know, what would you do to protect those people that really honestly feel like they have no choice?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I apologise for not knowing about that initiative. There's many great initiatives which I, don't know about, and I wish them true success in everything they do. I think it's really important that there's a space for that, and the university does have that space for that, which is excellent. What would I do? Well, I suppose I would make sure that behaviour against anyone, any form of violence is not tolerated, right? And I think the university is pretty clear on that. I would like to make sure that the SRC is on board with that. I'm sure they are on board with that. And then a safe space for them to talk, prioritising them in mental health lists, prioritising them in other, avenues of support, making sure that they get the sort of support that they need to be able to express what they're going through and also try and find solutions to try and help them.
Open-ended.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry to hear about that you don't feel safe. And sometimes even I don't feel safe. I would like to mention when I came here, I also faced some kind of xenophobia, and so I know how it feels. So I would make sure that this won't happen with anyone.
Can I answer that too? Perfect. So, like I've already said, I'm a strident supporter of the MLTS Charter. One of the key principles of the MLTS Charter is making sure that all staff are trained to the synaptical level on how to deal with gender-based violence survivors, really. Of course, I'm going to support that. I want to make sure that all staff know how to deal with these kind of things so people are protected in the future. A second thing I want to focus on is the availability of quiet rooms on campus. I think this would really improve our accessibility for everyone who needs to take a breather while they're on campus and access a safe space. And of course, money may be tight, but I'd like to see that be staffed by people who are, trained in these kind of things to make sure that everyone is supported when they need it most.
Thank you. Iris?
Thank you. As you've all been through your manifestos quite thoroughly now, you've also got about policies that you'd like to concentrate on. However, the unfortunate fact is, not only does it matter whether or not you win, it also matters who wins the vice president roles. As president and as an executive team, you require collective responsibility. So, if you're elected, how will you make sure that you continue to push policies, both your own and others' policies, even if in that case you don't agree with it? And how will you ensure that you will come to professional compromises within your team?
Happy for anyone to take that one.
Do you want to go first?
So your question is, which I understand that even I don't agree with a policy, but it's a good policy. So I believe in democracy and Abraham Lincoln's definition of democracy. I uphold the values that of the people, by the people, for the people. So I will definitely see that if more people, my executive, my vice presidents are in favor of a policy which I don't agree, then I definitely endorse it. This is what a leader should do.
Well, I've mentioned many times tonight, and I'm sure you'll be sick of it by the end of it. I have a very democratic leadership style, and I really do welcome others' opinions and criticisms when they're needed. I do believe in collective responsibility. I think it's important for a SAB team to be a unified front, especially when they're going up against university negotiations. And part of that, I think, is a strategy of having regular meetings with my SABs, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, to make sure that we're all working together, that we have a healthy relationship, so we can get things done for students like they expect us to.
So, my leadership style is very much bottom up too. I like to drive and try and inspire the best out of people, and I absolutely support any initiatives that are being brought forward by the VPs and by the other council members. They've been elected for a reason. That reason needs to be demonstrated, and I'll do what I can to try and support them despite any disagreement. I think that's irrelevant. You know, your personal ideologies and stuff like that is irrelevant when it comes to these things. These are representatives for the student voices that have been elected by the students, and therefore, you know, they've got a mandate to be able to do what they want to do. And obviously, that's you know, with cooperation and stuff like that, I think we can all come to a consensus on how best this can be done.
I might jump in and ask a final question, just conscious of time. We have this room till 9 PM and also how exhausted the three of us right now. So the final question I'm happy for any of you to start answering is, the new UKVI immigration compliance system designed by the university has led to concerns amongst some international students in the university. While this is a UK government mandate through UKVI and the university has little room to manoeuvre, how do you think the current system can be improved as the approach is revisited?
You're just forcing me to repeat myself. I know we're over tonight. Yeah, like I've already said in a report I said, so I've made my views on this really well known to you all tonight, to Pablo, to Bob, the Permanent Secretary of the SRC. I don't think the current system is fair to international students. I think it invades their privacy. What I'd like to work towards, in collaboration with the SMG and the immigration team at the university, is to work towards a way of tracking attendance that is fair, that is actually used by students, and that is not infringing on anyone's privacy. I think that is a principle we need to uphold. I know that the university has a legal requirement to publish this data and to communicate with the Home Office, but I think we can do it in a way that's much more constructive and doesn't violate anyone's rights.
Yeah, so the government can obviously be a difficult entity to collaborate with. I think we can all agree to that. But you know, throughout my time at university, I've managed to sort of you know, campaign and sort of be involved in some government processes. So I'd like to lean in on that. We've got our future MP over here too. So you know, these are allies that we all have, and I'm sure they have some ties back to Glasgow University, and we'd like to try and, you know, bring that together, whether they be alumni, whether they be current students, to try and advocate and lobby the Scottish Government to make sure that the University of Glasgow is doing its best for international students, for home students, and for everyone else.
Yeah, I know that the UKVI, the new policies have changed and university failed to comply with this review, I guess. So I think there is need of more fairness in the policy. How we implement the UKVI's policy, but because international student brings a lot of diversity and they also bring a lot of money, which is of course important for any educational establishment. So I think fairness is the most important thing, whether if it's in favor of students or even it's not in favor of students, because integrity is most important in education.
Thank you. And thank you so much to the three of you for coming here tonight and standing through all of those questions in that quite long evening. And thank you, all of you as well, for coming here.
Thank you for all the hard work and the science here too.
But thank you. This is a quick reminder, we have our non-sabbatical hustings tomorrow 6 PM online through Zoom, and voting will take over.